were extracting water from a far, so it was really laborious.
Wow.
Water, trying to keep animals watered, the homestead alive.
Homestead Rescue, one of Discovery Channel's most popular reality shows, recently came to an abrupt end following a terrifying discovery. Despite attracting between 500,000 and 1 million viewers per episode across all viewing platforms, the series concluded its 12th season on February 23, 2025. This unexpected development shocked the show's massive fan base of over 2 billion Discovery Channel subscribers. But behind all the survival hacks and emotional rescues, a chilling discovery brought everything crashing down. Stay with me, because in this video, we finally will find out what changes everything inside the Rainey family legacy. The story of the Rainey family's journey into off-grid living began long before the cameras ever started rolling. Long before they became television personalities, they were simply a family bound by a shared love for adventure, hard work, and survival. Their life was not scripted, not rehearsed, but born from the real grit of living off the land. The very foundation that later made Homestead Rescue so captivating to millions of viewers was laid in those early years, years filled with struggle, determination, and a deep respect for nature. People often wondered how a single family could live so far from modern comforts and still thrive. But for the Raineys, this was never about survival for the sake of spectacle. It was simply life as they knew it. Marty Rainey, the family's patriarch, was born and raised in North Bend, Washington, where self-sufficiency wasn't a lifestyle trend, but a way of life. He grew up surrounded by the hum of saws, the scent of timber, and the endless rhythm of chores that came with living off the grid. From the time he was young, he learned that nothing came easy. Clearing land, chopping wood, and caring for animals were part of his daily routine. Some might say that while other children his age were focused on playgrounds and classrooms, Marty was already learning the skills that would later define his destiny. At just 16, he decided to leave school behind. Some might question such a decision. After all, how could a teenager possibly know what he wanted at that age? But Marty seemed to understand something most people never do. His classroom wasn't made of walls and chalkboards. It was the wilderness itself, raw, untamed, and full of lessons no book could ever teach. Yet, as much as his journey inspired millions, what happened next left fans speechless. What began as a dream of survival turned into a nightmare that threatened to end everything the Raineys had built. And trust me, once you hear what forced Homestead Rescue to shut down after this terrifying discovery, you'll understand why everyone's still talking about it, so don't blink till the very end. His journey eventually led him to Alaska in the 1970s, a place many call the last frontier for good reason. He began working as a logger in Ketchikan, Prince of Wales, and Sitka, grueling jobs that tested his endurance and willpower. Every single day. Logging in those parts wasn't just physically demanding. It was perilous, unpredictable, and often unforgiving. Yet, for Marty, it was more than a job. It was his first taste of the raw, untamed spirit of Alaska, and he never looked back. When he married Molly Rostel, the two began their own adventure together in 1974, starting what would later become one of the most inspiring family stories ever told. Their first home in Alaska wasn't exactly the cozy cabin most people might imagine. In fact, it wasn't even on solid ground. They lived in a floating logging camp off Prince of Wales Island, cut off from all modern conveniences. No power, no running water, no plumbing, not even proper heating. Can one imagine raising a family under such conditions? Yet for Marty and Molly, this was life at its purest form, free, raw, and completely dependent on their own hands and wits. After a year, they moved again, this time to a 160-acre homestead in Haines, Alaska, a place so remote it was 100 miles away from the nearest town. The idea of isolation might have scared most people, but for the Raineys, isolation was freedom. Their journey didn't stop there. They later settled in another floating logging camp, one that lay a full 100 air miles from the fishing town of Sitka. With every move, their connection to the wild grew stronger. By the mid-1980s, the family had ventured 800 miles farther north, raising 4 children along the way: Melanie, Miles, Misty, and Matt. Each child grew up surrounded by the wilderness, where every sunrise brought new lessons in resilience. Their education wasn't found in textbooks, but in the rhythm of nature, building, hunting, fishing, and learning how to survive without relying on anyone else. After almost 50 years in Alaska, the Rainey family's story came full circle. They eventually built a 40-acre homestead deep in the Alaskan wilderness, accessible only by crossing a dangerous, roaring Class 4 river. It was here that their spin-off series, Homestead Rescue, Rainey Ranch, came to life. Viewers watched as they battled time and nature to finish their homestead before the brutal winter arrived. It was more than just entertainment. It was a window into a lifestyle most people only dream about, but could never truly endure. Each of the Rainey children brought something special to the family and to the show. Misty Rainey, often called the heart of the homestead, became the family's farming expert. She helped countless struggling homesteaders build sustainable food systems, teaching them how to turn the earth into nourishment. Matt Rainey, born and raised in the Alaskan wilderness, developed an unmatched knowledge of hunting and fishing. From climbing Denali to building log cabins and tracking wild game, he learned early that survival depended on hard work and skill. Then there were Melanie and Miles, who played equally vital roles in the family's endeavors. Miles, alongside his girlfriend Kara, was even the first to set up a yurt on their 40-acre property, a true testament to the family's pioneering spirit. Before television fame ever found them, the children grew up working in the family business, Alaska Stone and Log. There, they learned the craft of peeling logs, quarrying stone, and constructing with nothing but simple tools and determination. How many children today could say they learned to build homes from the ground up? The Rainey kids could. Those early experiences gave them the practical know-how that would later help them rescue struggling homesteaders across America. Their upbringing had prepared them for a life where no challenge was too great and no frontier too wild. Even when adversity struck, like the time Marty suffered a serious fall during filming, his children didn't back down. Instead, they stepped up, taking on more responsibilities to ensure the work continued. That sense of unity, of family standing together no matter what, is what made viewers love them even more. It wasn't just a show about homesteading. It was a story about love, teamwork, and the human spirit's refusal to quit. In many ways, the Rainey's story speaks to something people often long for in their modern lives: a return to simplicity, to authenticity, to the satisfaction of living off what one can create with their own hands. Their life reminds everyone that while comfort and technology have their place, there is something profoundly beautiful about hard work, family, and nature. Viewers who followed their journey couldn't help but feel inspired. After all, who wouldn't be moved by a family that built everything from scratch, fought through storms most of us couldn't imagine, and still found a way to smile through the struggle? But as inspiring as their journey was, something was quietly breaking beneath the surface, something no one saw coming. So don't look away now, because what happened next would test their love, loyalty, and everything they thought they'd built together. The moment it all fell apart. The controversy surrounding Homestead Rescue shook fans in a way few expected. For years, the show had built a reputation for being authentic and heartfelt, a real look into the lives of people trying to survive off the grid. With the help of the Rainey family, viewers had trusted what they saw on screen, believing every episode showed real challenges and real triumphs. But when whispers began to spread online about something not being quite right, few could have imagined how fast those whispers would grow into a full-blown storm. Could it really be that the show people loved for its sincerity was not as genuine as it seemed? News broke that Homestead Rescue had been suddenly shut down, and fans were left stunned. It was as if the entire world of the Raineys had collapsed overnight. For a show that had become a source of inspiration for many, the silence from the Discovery Channel only made things worse. People wanted answers. They wanted to know what could possibly have led to such a drastic decision. Why would a network suddenly pull the plug on one of its most popular series without a clear explanation? As the dust began to settle, shocking details started to surface about a discovery that went far beyond simple behind-the-scenes drama. It turned out that the so-called terrifying discovery had two layers to it. First came the accusations from former participants. Kim and Josh Zabek, who had appeared in the first season, came forward claiming that the show had twisted their story and misrepresented their homestead just to make things more dramatic for television. They said their farm had been shown in the worst possible light, and that editing made their situation look far more desperate than it really was. Another couple, Ren and Innie, said they experienced the same thing, that producers had focused only on the most run-down parts of their property while leaving out everything that could have made them look capable or self-sufficient. If these claims were true, it painted a troubling picture of how far reality television might go to grab attention. Was it all just entertainment after all? Were the emotions, struggles, and victories that fans had celebrated just carefully constructed illusions? But the controversy didn't stop there. Soon after, another revelation surfaced that added even more fuel to the fire. An old song written by Marty Rainey in 1997 titled Adam and Steve was discovered, and its content was deeply offensive. Listeners who came across the song were shocked by its homophobic lyrics. The fact that the song had remained on major streaming platforms for so long, only to be taken down after Discovery became aware of it, made the situation even more explosive. Suddenly, conversations about the Raineys' image and integrity took on a new tone. Fans who had once admired Marty's rugged charm and straightforward personality were now questioning what kind of man he really was. Could a person who wrote such a song decades ago still be the same man teaching families about compassion and cooperation on national television? The Discovery Channel quickly tried to contain the damage. A spokesperson made a statement, emphasizing that the song did not reflect the network's values in any way. The production company behind the show, Raw TV and All 3 Media America, expressed equal shock. They insisted they had no prior knowledge of the song and didn't support its message. But words could only do so much when the audience felt betrayed. Fans wanted accountability, not just corporate statements. They wanted to see if the Raineys themselves would address the matter. Yet, the family chose silence. That silence spoke volumes to different people in different ways. Some interpreted it as guilt, as if the Raineys were hiding behind silence because they had no defense. Others believed it was a show of restraint, that maybe they were choosing to handle things privately rather than fuel the public spectacle. Still, in the world of social media, silence often leaves a void that others quickly fill with speculation. Some wondered whether the shutdown of the show was a temporary pause for damage control, while others were convinced it was the end of Homestead Rescue altogether. As time passed, one thing became clear. The Homestead Rescue controversy had become a case study in how fragile reputations can be in the modern media world. A single discovery, a few voices speaking out, and an old song from decades past had been enough to bring down what once seemed unshakable. Whether the Rainey family's silence would eventually lead to redemption or stir up even deeper suspicion remained to be seen. But one thing was certain. The storm was far from over. What happened next would test their legacy, their bond, and even the loyalty of their most devoted fans. So, Don't blink now, because the fallout and aftermath of Homestead Rescue's controversies seem to reveal far more than anyone ever expected. And it only gets more shocking from here. The fallout and what comes next. The aftermath of Homestead Rescue's controversies seem to unfold in waves, touching nearly every corner of the show's once solid reputation and leaving both loyal fans and outspoken critics wondering what would come next for the Rainey family and their long-running reality series. It was as if a storm had swept through what had been a peaceful homesteading community, stirring up questions that no one seemed ready to answer. People began to ask themselves, could a show built on helping others really have been hiding so much behind the scenes? It all began when the Zabek family, Kim and Josh, took a bold step that few participants in reality television ever do. They filed a lawsuit. Their claims were serious. They said Homestead Rescue had painted them in a completely false light, portraying them as struggling homesteaders who couldn't make their dreams work. According to them, that wasn't the truth at all. They had already been running a successful project called Revolutionary Roots Farm, but they alleged the producers deliberately left out that part of their story to make the episode more dramatic. Imagine working tirelessly to build a thriving farm only to see yourself portrayed as failing on national television. How frustrating would that feel? The outcome of their legal battle was never made public, but it didn't need to be for others to take notice. That single lawsuit opened the floodgates. Soon enough, other participants began coming forward with their own stories and complaints. One couple, Ren and Ini, who appeared in a 2017 episode, admitted that certain scenes were exaggerated or altered to make their situation look worse than it was. It became increasingly clear that not everything viewers saw on screen reflected reality. These claims chipped away at the show's reputation for authenticity, a quality that had once been its biggest selling point. After all, if the struggles and triumphs were edited for drama, what else had been manipulated? Fans who once believed they were watching genuine problem-solving began to feel a growing sense of doubt. But the controversies didn't stop at the show's editing room. Marty Rainey himself, who had long been viewed as the rugged, wise patriarch guiding struggling families toward self-sufficiency, faced his own share of public scrutiny. Back in 2020, an old song from 1997 titled "Adam and Steve" resurfaced online. The lyrics contained what many perceived as homophobic sentiments, and the discovery sparked immediate backlash. People who had admired Marty for years suddenly began questioning his character. The production company was quick to release a statement saying they had been completely unaware of the song's existence and that they did not share or support the views expressed in it. Still, for many fans, the damage was already done. Once something like that comes to light, can people really look at you the same way again? Then there was another incident in 2018 that drew attention, one that involved Marty damaging a drone operator's equipment near his property. Though it was eventually resolved when Marty agreed to pay for the damage, the story added to the growing perception that trouble seemed to follow the Rainey family, even if unintentionally. Interestingly, through all of this, the Raineys chose not to speak publicly. They stayed silent, perhaps hoping that time and loyal fans would eventually let the noise die down. But silence can be a double-edged sword. While it avoids feeding controversy, it can also make people wonder whether there's more truth to the allegations than anyone wants to admit. As time went on, questions about the show's future began to swirl. Was Homestead Rescue finished for good, or was there still a chance for redemption? Reports suggested that the Discovery Channel hadn't yet renewed the show for a 12th season. That revelation came as a disappointment to many fans who had stuck by the Raineys through every twist and turn. Yet, despite all the drama, the show's ratings had remained surprisingly strong during its most controversial periods. Could it be that viewers were drawn not just to the homesteading projects, but also to the drama itself? Reality TV has, Whether the show comes back or not, one thing is clear. The Raineys have already carved their place in the history of reality television. Their story, with all its triumphs and troubles, has become a lesson in how quickly public perception can shift, and how even the most well-intentioned projects can find themselves under fire. In the end, the fate of Homestead Rescue remains uncertain, but even if the cameras never roll again, the echoes of its controversies will linger. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.